Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling something huge, how you can protect your brain's health through one of the most powerful tools you have, your own body. We're going to break down some groundbreaking research on movement. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at what's at stake, why our brains are at risk. Then, we'll dive into a surprisingly powerful solution. After that, we'll get into the specifics, the actual formula that science says works best. We'll give you a practical starter kit so you can actually do it, and then we'll wrap it all up with the one big idea you need to remember. All right, first things first. To really get why this is so important, we have to understand the challenge we're all facing when it comes to the health of our brains. So, on the really serious end of the spectrum, you've got Alzheimer's disease. Now, don't just think of this as a memory problem. Think of it as a physical, structural problem inside the brain. You get these things called amyloid plaques and tau tangles, which is really just a scientific way of saying gunk. This gunk literally builds up and clogs the communication channels, causing memory and thinking to break down. And this is not some rare condition. The scale is just immense. Right now, 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. And for every single one of those individuals, there's a whole network of family and friends whose lives are also turned upside down. But here's the thing, it doesn't just go from 0 to 100. Before you get to dementia, there's this critical warning stage called Mild Cognitive Impairment, or MCI. This is more than just a senior moment. It's when you notice your thinking isn't quite as sharp, but you can still handle your daily life. And why is this stage so incredibly important? Because this is our golden opportunity. This is the window where we can step in and fight back. And if you want to know just how urgent that window is, just look at these numbers. For a healthy older adult, the chance of developing dementia in a given year is pretty small, maybe 1 or 2%. But for someone with MCI, whoa, that risk just explodes. It jumps all the way up to 10 to 15%. That is a massive leap, and it's basically a giant flashing warning sign that tells us the clock is ticking. Okay, so that's the serious part. But with that threat in mind, let's pivot to the really, really good news. Because there's a powerful, accessible solution that doesn't come in a pill bottle, and pretty much anyone can use it. Which brings us to the big question, right? Is there a way to actually intervene during that MCI window? Can we protect our brains, or are we just passengers along for the ride? And the answer, which is backed by a mountain of solid research, is actually beautiful in its simplicity. Physical activity, just moving your body. We've always known it's good for our muscles and our heart, but it turns out it might just be the most potent medicine we have for our brains. But just exercise is a little vague, isn't it? Is all exercise created equal when it comes to your brain? Well, let's dig into a landmark study that actually compared different approaches to find out what works best. So how do we figure this out? Researchers did something called a network meta-analysis, which is really just a fancy way of saying they took 35 different high-quality studies and mashed all their results together to get one super-powered answer. They looked at data from over 2,700 people with MCI and compared these 5 different kinds of exercise to see which one gave the biggest brain boost. And the results? They were crystal clear. This chart basically ranks how likely each exercise type is to be the best option. And look at the top of the list. Combination training, that's mixing things like aerobics and strength work, scored a 99.4%. I mean, it doesn't get more conclusive than that. It was, without a doubt, the undisputed champion for improving cognitive function. Now, good science always looks at the whole picture. So there was another huge study, the LIFE study, that didn't find an overall benefit for the exercise group. But, and this is a really big but, when they drilled down into the data, they saw that for the people who are most vulnerable, those over 80 and those who started out less physically fit, the exercise group did show significant brain benefits. So this tells us that exercise might be most powerful for the very people who need it the most. Okay, so the science is great, but what does this actually mean for you and me on a Tuesday afternoon? How do we take this amazing finding that combination training is the key and turn it into a real-world plan? So what does this combination training look like in real life? Well, it turns out the recommendations from top groups like the Alzheimer's Association line up perfectly with the science. They say you should build your week around these 3 pillars. Pillar number 1, aerobic activity. This is anything that gets your heart rate up, like a brisk walk, a bike ride, swimming, you name it. The goal here is consistency. Try to do something on most days of the week. You're not trying to win a marathon, you're just trying to build a sustainable habit. Next up, strength training. And no, you do not need a fancy gym membership. This can be as simple as using your own body weight, like getting up and down from a chair or using some cheap resistance bands. Just aim for a couple of days a week and make sure you give your muscles a day to rest and rebuild in between. And finally, our third pillar, the one that often gets ignored, flexibility and balance. This stuff is absolutely critical, not just for moving better, but for preventing falls, which is a huge deal. Simple stretches, balance exercises like standing on one foot while you brush your teeth, it all makes a massive difference.
I absolutely love this simple phrase the experts use. It's just a great little reminder that movement helps keep our joints, our muscles, and yes, our brains all functioning smoothly. All right, let's bring it all home. If you've been multitasking, tune back in for this, because this is the single most important message from all of this research. So if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this. You are not powerless against cognitive decline. The science is incredibly clear. One of the most powerful things you can do to protect your brain is consistent, varied exercise. And the optimal formula is a combination, a mix of getting your heart rate up and challenging your muscles. So there you have it. We've seen the risks, we've looked at the science, and now you have a clear, practical plan. The rest, well, that's up to you. So I'll leave you with one final thought. What's one move you'll make for your brain today?